This isn't just a story about infidelity. It's about what happens when the person being played decides they're done being the fool. Her affair partner ended up being the guy that she hated at work. I made sure I humiliated them both and cost them their careers. I found out that Kathleen, my wife of 8 years, has been cheating on me. I'm not supposed to know. This isn't the kind of affair that just happened. She clearly knew what she was doing every step of the way. I was never meant to find out, but I was too observant not to get a sniff of what was going on behind the scenes. I grew up on the streets and I consider myself to be too sharp to be made a fool of. She did make a fool of me, but not as long as she might have hoped to. Kathleen works at a store in our country. Think of it like a big department store. While you have floor workers and cashiers and all of that business, you also have a corporate section that pays really well. It's not easy to get a job there, but she managed to, and she's been with them for 5 years now. She's gotten 2 promotions in that time. She's good at what she does, and I haven't had a single complaint because what she earns makes holding our family afloat so much easier. I earn well too, so it's great to have 2 solid incomes for the family. If only I knew that the job that she has is going to end up as the reason why we split. I can't even blame the job itself because at the end of the day, she's the hoe who decided to cheat on me, but the job made it happen. There's a guy who ended up joining the workplace about 2 years ago. She would tell me about this Jacob guy here and there, and from everything that she said about him, he was a proper butt, and the kind of person that no one wants to have on their team. He was lazy and incompetent. He was the kind of guy who thought he was funny, but made mostly tone-deaf jokes or tried too hard to make people laugh. He just seemed generally unlikable. I've been to 2 of her end-of-year parties, and each time I saw the Jacob guy. Looks can be deceiving, and how you look has nothing to do with how irritating you are to be around. But he didn't look like the worst guy to me. I remember that I commented that on our way back home, and she told me that she thought the same thing about him when he first got hired. Apparently, it didn't take him long to make it clear that he just looked like an okay guy, but he wasn't. So, over the years, I simply recognized Jacob as the person that she hated at work. He never made her life better. He never made work easier. He was just a blight on the company, and for some reason, the people in charge didn't feel strong enough about him and his work ethic to make sure that he was fired. That's what you need to know first. Now I'll talk to you about how I knew that there was something that Kathleen was hiding from me. I've known this woman for a long time, well over a decade. We've been married for 8 years, so I've had her by my side essentially full-time for those 8 years. I know her quirks. It is easy for me to tell when something is off with her. The day that I started to realize that something was up with her was when I walked into the room suddenly and she jolted when she saw me. I could have sworn that she was talking before I entered, but she claimed that she was singing quietly and that was it. If I had startled her, I'd understand, but that wasn't it. After I came into the room, she was acting off as if she was doing her best to act normal. She didn't pick up her phone. She just sat on the bed awkwardly and asked me what I was up to. I was supposed to be watching a movie with the kids in the living room after all. I told her that I was tired and I just came to see her for a bit. That was it. She nodded, but she still didn't behave regularly. I asked what was up with her, but she said nothing. I told her that she was acting weird, but she denied it. She said it might have just been because she was a little tired or she was thinking about work. As much as I wasn't convinced, I didn't have much basis to think anything else, so I took her word for it and I moved on from that topic. Of course, because I'm not a fool, I kept that in mind. I knew that something happened which she didn't want me to know about, and since we're the kind of couple that doesn't keep secrets from one another, I knew that something else had to be off if she was acting secretive around me. I didn't immediately decide to check her phone, though. Instead, I told myself that I was going to keep an eye on her just in case there was any more suspicious behavior to note. If I saw enough that just didn't seem right to me, then it would make it so much easier for me to either confront her or snoop through her phone. It didn't take long for me to notice something else was off. We were in the living room watching TV as a family the next day. Only on the rarest occasions does a person leave before we finish watching the show we're watching. If a call comes in, sure, that makes sense. But for her to just get up and leave? She claimed that she was going to pee, but she was in the bathroom for too long, and she went with her phone. I already knew that something was going on. I didn't feel like that was normal behavior from her at all. I didn't ask her anything when she got back. I could tell from her body language that she was different. There was something that she was hiding from me. I didn't push the topic. Another day, she came back home almost an hour later than usual. I asked her what had held her up, and she didn't have a real excuse for me. Initially, she said it was traffic, but when I questioned traffic along the route, she added that she had to stop to get some things. She didn't have any things with her, and when I asked what she went to get exactly, she just deflected and claimed that she picked some things up for one of her friends who was sick and couldn't get out of the house. That was the point that I realized I had no choice but to dig into what she was keeping private and figure out the truth. I did consider just asking her, but if someone is hiding things from you and you're pretty sure that they're lying, there isn't much reason to expect that they'll stop lying when you catch them off guard and confront them. so I knew I would just have to dig through her phone and see the kinds of things that were going on there. I managed to get her phone when she was asleep one night. I knew she was going to be in deep sleep because she had a pretty rough day at work and she took a melatonin to help her settle in, so I had time. I didn't even know what I was going to be looking for, so I needed time. I knew that I was going to need a lot of it. Logically, the first place that I started was in her messages with other people because I assumed that if there was anything going on, it was going to be someone who she didn't want me to know anything about, aka another man. I went through all the messages in her default messaging app, but I didn't see anything of the note there. After that, I chose to go through her social media. She uses Twitter and Instagram the most, so I dug through her DMs there, but I still didn't find anything that was concerning, at least in the newest 15 chats that she had. Of course, there were more chats than that on all of these platforms, but I can only go so far unless I want to be digging through her phone forever. If there was an affair happening at that very moment, I knew that the person was going to be one of the more recent people she had spoken to. I went to her gallery after that, and while I was searching through her pictures, it initially seemed like there wasn't a single thing in the wrong spot. It just looked like the average gallery of a working woman. A lot of photos of herself, of the kids, a few of me. There were some of things she liked when she went shopping, and then some that were taken at her workplace. I might have missed it, but I think I stopped when I saw a few men that I didn't initially recognize. The pictures were taken at her workplace, and most of them were inoffensive. She was butting into the faces of her coworkers and taking videos or pictures of them, but I vaguely recognized one of the faces in the video that I wasn't sure I felt too great about. In the video in question, she came up beside the guy who was working at her desk, started bothering him, and then she put her cheek right up to his cheek and took a video of the two of them together. Yes, it wasn't exactly immoral contact, but it did grab my attention. It was worse when I realized that I recognized the guy as Jacob. This was supposed to be the coworker who she hated. Compared to everyone else that she had taken pictures of or videos of, her video with Jacob was the coziest. She didn't seem to have any problems putting her face right up to his and pouting. It looked like the exact opposite of everything she had told me about him. He looked like her best friend and not the person she wanted to be fired. I started to realize in that moment that I wasn't even sure of what was truly happening in her workplace. I only had to take her word for it. I mean, that's what most spouses have to do, but you usually don't expect to see someone who she put so much effort into describing how she doesn't like being the person who she is cozying up to. All of my alarm bells were blaring at that point. I realized that I must have been sold a bunch of lies, so from there, I went straight into her messages again, and I tried to see if I had somehow skipped over Jacob. I had, because they were much older conversations. They didn't chat much, but I wasn't convinced that that was reality. I checked Slack, and there was nothing of note there. It was all work stuff. Then on a whim, I decided to check Facebook Messenger. She had installed it, even though she doesn't use Facebook that much. At least that was the impression I had. But when I checked Messenger, I saw that she had a few older chats with some of her relatives, and then, right at the top, were her messages with Jacob. I consider myself to be a tough guy, but my heart crashed when I saw that. I knew that I was expecting to find something, but actually seeing it was a different matter. They talked a lot. Their messages for that day alone were extensive. Even if there was nothing explicit going on between them, the way that she had lied to me about him would have been enough grounds. Of course, as you might all expect, there was plenty of evidence of explicit things happening between them. The texts showed that they had been intimate with each other in the past. There were messages in there that were explicit in themselves. A lot of the media had been deleted. I could just tell by reading through it, but there were a few of the older instances which had slipped through the cracks. He wasn't shy with sending her pictures. She wasn't as enthusiastic, but she had sent a few images, at least in the older days in their messaging. And when I continued to read through it, it became clear that there were intimate intentions between the two of them very soon after he had been hired at that workplace, which means that the stories she had made up about his behavior and how she didn't like him had all been so that he'd be the person I'd least suspect as an affair. She had thought things through and made me realize how calculating the person I am with has been. It explains why I didn't have any idea. I don't know what changed recently that made her behavior start to stick out more than usual, but whatever it was, I'm glad for it. I probably would have remained clueless if not for my sharp eye noticing these kinds of details. It was 3 years worth of messages, so I couldn't screenshot all of it, but I screenshotted the parts that I felt would show how much she had crossed a line. The nudes that were shared between them, the explicit messages, and the parts where they had acknowledged that they had met up and had sex. All of that went straight to my phone for safekeeping. I even put it in the cloud because I couldn't let anything happen to that evidence. The very next day, I went to go and meet with a divorce lawyer. I told him the entire situation and he let me know that things would be fine for me. There was more than enough evidence that she was unfaithful to me. Divorce in my country doesn't care about the reason for the divorce, which really sucks to me. I wish that the proof of infidelity would mean that she ends up with nothing, but I know that I'm not going to be that lucky. Either way, it might slightly tilt things in my favor, and I'll take that if it comes my way. Update. There's a lot for me to talk about in this update. The most important thing is that it seems to be the end of the story for me and Kathleen. We share children, so that means that she'll never truly be out of my life, but as of now, we are exes, and that is some satisfaction to me considering what she did. I had already contacted a divorce lawyer, and it didn't take too long for the papers to be ready. I wish that I could have served them myself, but I knew that wasn't going to be possible, so I hired a process server and had Kathleen served while she was at work. I knew that she had gotten the papers because the process server told me immediately, and I would have known anyway because she called me about 3 times in a row. She didn't get the chance to call a 4th time because I was already at her workplace. I've stopped by there on a few occasions, and I know that getting to the place where her actual office isn't hard. There's a passcode to get into the corporate section of the department store, but she has told me that before. I was going to use that sensitive information to my advantage. I'm not the kind of guy who gets easily embarrassed. I can make a scene if the situation calls for it, so it wasn't hard for me to climb to the corporate floor, type in the passcode, and step onto the floor. Most people didn't look at me twice because I didn't particularly look like I wasn't meant to be there. I couldn't locate Jacob easily, but I was able to find her. I stood by her desk and she jolted when she looked up and saw it was me. The first thing she asked was, "What are you doing here?" But then she immediately followed it up with, "What's this about?" while pointing to the envelope. I was looking around the floor. When I spotted Jacob, I decided to answer her. I told her that she knew exactly what it was about, and it'd be best if she didn't play dumb. She decided to say that she didn't know what she had done, and I considered that to be a big mistake. It was time to make my scene. This woman, Kathleen, is my wife. I made sure that I said it at the top of my voice and instantly grabbed everyone's attention. She became panicked and tried to get me to settle down, but it wasn't going to work. She and her coworker, Jacob, who I pointed to, had been sleeping together. She told me she hates him, but that was all to knock me off the scent of her affair with him. I shouted that I had proof of the affair, so I wasn't just making claims. I shouted that I had just had her served with divorce papers. I even added that I was on the floor because she had shared the floor code with me without caring about the security of everyone. I pointed out that if I was crazy and aggrieved, I could have caused serious damage with what I knew. By that point, there was security on the floor, and I knew they wouldn't mind getting rough with me. I had done the damage I wanted to do, so I went with them willingly. Nothing happened to me. I was just trespassed from the building, but that was fine by me. It helped that I was so cooperative. When she got back home that night, things got loud. I tried to avoid it because the kids were around. She wanted to fight though, so she got it. My fault was embarrassing her, but I let her know that was silly, because being embarrassed was so much better than being cheated on. She wanted to act like she couldn't understand that though. I told her that things were going to be rough in our house if she didn't move out, but she refused to, so, as expected, things were pretty rough. The kids could tell something was up, so we didn't waste time in letting them know about the divorce. Of course, there were a lot of tears. When it got to time for the divorce, I was actually super lucky. I really didn't care to draw things out as much as I hated her. I knew the courts wouldn't particularly favor me, so I offered the house with 50-50 custody and no alimony, and she took it. So that went quickly. Things were great for me, though, because I didn't know it, but she underwent an investigation at work due to the scene that I had caused, and thanks to that, both she and Jacob were fired. They were breaking company policy, but it was even worse that she had given sensitive information to me. She couldn't be trusted anymore. I found this out because she wanted us to renegotiate alimony now that she was unemployed, but I'm not a charity. I obviously wasn't going to help with that. She has a whole house over her head. She will survive if she really wants to, and yes, I know she's taking care of our children half the time, so I shouldn't want her to have no money. You're right, I'm paying child support, so there's that. I prefer my money to go to my kids, not her. The final piece of my revenge was to actually make use of all the evidence that I had. I sent it to her parents who loved her so much. I knew it was going to crush them to see the real reason why we got divorced, but I didn't care. Their pain would reflect on her, and I wanted her to hurt. All I was doing was giving them the truth. Her mom called me after I sent the images, and she asked me if it was real. I told her that all of it was real, and I swear I could hear her crying over the phone, though she was trying to hide it. I tried to calm her down, which worked a little, and at the first opportunity, I got off the call. I had done my work, and I didn't want to stick around for it. Kathleen was so mad at me. She screamed and shouted, but I didn't have much to say to her. I knew that she was going to be angry, but as long as she couldn't hit me, it was fine. So I let it happen. She pretty much hates me now, but I don't mind that. I got her fired. I got the people in her professional circles knowing the kinds of things she gets up to and how she's not trustworthy. I also made sure her parents found out that their daughter isn't a princess. All of that is genuinely enough for me. Don't be a cheater, and things won't turn out so bad for you. When the truth finally came out, you didn't owe her a quiet, respectful exit. She didn't give you honesty, loyalty, or basic respect. So expecting you to respond with grace and dignity like this is some polite breakup is kind of ridiculous. Showing up at her workplace? Was it dramatic? Sure. But let's be real. She was perfectly comfortable risking her marriage and her job for this guy. You didn't invent consequences, you just sped them up and made them visible. Same with telling her parents. You didn't lie or twist anything, you told the truth that she was clearly planning to hide. If you got your partner in a long-term, calculated affair, would you walk away quietly or make sure everyone knows exactly what they did? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.